Hey everybody, I'm here with my good friend Bill Nash, and we are at Nash Nurseries. So that means this is his place. How many generations is this farm?
I'm the 5th generation. My granddaughter over here is the 7th generation.
It's amazing, because I was saying how lucky she is to be growing up in this beautiful environment, and the dogs are playing, and she took me out and we picked chickpea nuts. Is that what they're called?
Chickapins.
Chickapins. So we picked chickapins, and then Bill was gracious enough to mow this area here. And just so you know, that every time I do a video is when the dogs decide. Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
And then helicopters overhead.
Sure.
So yeah.
First helicopter in 2 weeks back here, but you timed it.
Yeah, and we haven't heard any noise except for right now. Okay, so this is what we've picked so far. This is hickory nuts and a few chestnuts, and we have some Paw Paws in there, and then these are chickapins. They're related to the chestnut, right?
They are a chestnut. They're bush form. They grow down through Appalachia, the Allegheny chickapins.
Most people want to plant those, you said, for wildlife, right?
Yes. They're good to eat, and they have a good flavor, but they're very small.
They're tiny.
But they're very prolific also.
Yeah.
So they do produce a lot of nuts.
So we've been driving around all day. It's so beautiful. How many acres do you have here?
200.
200. It is absolutely beautiful. We're back here. There's over on the other side over there's a couple of ponds. The dogs have been swimming. It's just been such a joy to come out here on this gorgeous day, because today is day one of...
we've opened up for pick your own chestnuts.
Yes. So they have tons of chestnut trees, and so people are coming and they grab buckets, and hopefully they have some gloves, because the chestnuts are very pokey, and so you definitely need gloves to pick them up if you're going to pick them up by the husk. So hopefully those people, you only have to pick one up once, right?
Exactly.
Right.
And most of the folks have been here, though we do get new folks all the time also.
Tell them what you were telling me about when, was it when your grandfather died and you planted all those plants, or your dad?
And my father
planted
those. And chestnuts for timber, there's books written on it. One was that you could plant an acre of black walnuts a year and harvest an acre of black walnuts a year and make a good living. It's a rotational crop. However, it takes a few years to get into it. Probably 50, 80 years or
like
so.
A generation.
Yes. But once it started, then you'd be all set.
So how many acres or how many trees do you have planted on black walnut?
Between the two plantings, probably... Good question. Probably 800 to 1,000 trees.
Wow, nice. And those are mostly, though, for harvesting black walnut,
timber.
Right? And
well,
timber.
for timber, eventually for timber purposes.
So, give us a range of all the different types of trees you sell.
Everything. We sell a lot of fruit trees, apples, pears, plums, cherries, Paw Paws, a lot of nut trees, and certainly a lot of ornamental trees, a lot of shade trees. So it runs... a lot of different varieties. We would have literally hundreds of different varieties and cultivars of trees.
But one thing I want to talk about is the Paw Paws, because those are really special. I know that, Bill, you've been doing a lot of work with Paw Paws for many years. And so first of all, tell everybody what the Paw Paw is, because I know some people watching may or may not know what a Paw Paw is. And then let's talk about why it's so special and what we're trying to do with it.
Okay, the Paw Paw is actually the largest native fruit grown east of the Mississippi River. Apples are actually not native, and those Paw Paws are some of the smaller ones here. Mm-hmm. We've got certainly larger Paw Paws. It was said to be George Washington's favorite dessert was chilled Paw Paws. Thomas Jefferson grew them at Monticello, and Lewis and Clark on their trip across the country. The Indians showed them where the Paw Paws were, and they were many times very thankful to find a source of food, because Paw Paws are very nutritious. Original superfruit.
I didn't realize that they were native. Like, how did the co-op start?
The co-op in chestnuts was that the idea was to create a market as you created the crop. So many times co-ops are formed after there's excess crop, and the farmers don't know what to do with them, so they try to get a marketing co-op together in order to market their crop. So the idea was, and this was through Michigan State University and Dennis Fulbright, in order a two-pronged solution. You develop the crop and you develop a market at the same time. And so the co-op was formed to do that. And it's been very successful. We market I think last year around 240,000 pounds of chestnuts, and we'll probably do the same this year through the co-op. And you'll find them in Myers, you'll find them in Whole Foods, and you'll find them throughout some of the higher end stores down through the Detroit area and Chicago.
So with the Paw Paws, because one of the things that's so delicate, I guess, with the Paw Paws is that they have to ripen on the tree. So that's been a little bit more of a difficult crop
Yes.
to bring to market. So talk a little bit about that. I know Dennis Fulbright was also...
Yeah, he was very prominent in that. Paw Paws have to begin to ripen on the tree. Unlike some other crops, say bananas or something, you can pick them really green, ship them several thousand miles, and then ripen them. Paw Paws have to begin to ripen on the tree. If you pick them really green, they will not continue to ripen. So Paw Paws, once they begin to ripen on the tree and you harvest them, you've got 2, perhaps 3 weeks at most under refrigeration to keep them. So that's a very short window of opportunity to market. So one of the things that Michigan State's been doing, and we've been working with them, is getting that Paw Paw, getting the pulp into a puree form, into a frozen puree form, so it has a year-round availability. So you can get it into the market to the re-wholesalers, the ice cream makers, the bakers, the chefs, and that's been very successful. And more work Michigan State's been doing is harvesting the Paw Paw, freezing it, and then later processing it. And that's proved very successful. So I think there's a real potential of a real market and industry out there, not only for growers, but certainly for the people that would distribute it and the people utilizing it. So hopefully not too many years, you'll be able to find some Paw Paw desserts at your favorite restaurant.
So Bill was gracious enough to bring me 2 containers of frozen Paw Paw puree, and then also he's got me some chestnut flour. So I plan on making Paw Paw bread with chestnut flour, and I think that it's going to be a total experiment, but I think that'll be pretty amazing.
It should be very good and very healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. Chestnut flour has that wonderful sweetness to it that I just love. So about how long does it take when you're talking about growing Paw Paws, growing chestnuts, if we just focus on those 2 crops right now? You know, if somebody was interested in doing that, what would they be looking at? How much, like you said, an acre for black walnut. So what would they be looking at? You know, do they need hundreds of acres to do this on? How many trees should they start with? How long would they be looking at, getting a crop to a place where they could start to harvest?
Okay. Well, with chestnuts, most of the farms, orchards, are probably in that 3 to 5, maybe 8 acres. There's only one here in Michigan that's closer to 30 acres. That's a lot of chestnuts, a lot of handling. And for Paw Paws, probably most of the acreage is an acre or less.
Wow, that's
one
great.
of the things, because when the crop is ripe, you have to do something with it. You can't keep it very long. There's no way of storing it very long. So if you had 10 acres of Paw Paws, and Kentucky State University estimates probably you'll get 6,000 to 8,000 pounds per acre in about the 10th or 12th year on more of a mature Paw Paw. So that's a lot of Paw Paws to have to handle all at once. So with Michigan State's research, you could grow that many, freeze them, process them later, of course amortize the cost of the equipment and the labor over a longer period of time, and actually create an industry.
That's really promising, because I think when you're talking about growing food or growing crops, the initial thought is, oh, I need so many acres to do that. But really that is hopeful for a lot of people who live on smaller properties, that they could easily get started growing their own food and getting into a crop that's actually going to start making money.
Oh, very true. I mean, when you think about large acreage, that's corn, soybeans, and you need hundreds if not thousands of acres. But for specialty crops, it's just a few acres. Consider some of the specialty crops. Well, blueberries, Michigan's one of the largest blueberry growers, but it started out not that many years ago. So there are a number of different crops, and there's another number of different potentials for a lot of different crops without a lot of acreage.
Give us some other examples. If somebody, so I'm on less than a half an acre, you've seen my property, somebody who lives, let's say, an acre or less, where would you suggest they get started?
It's fun kind of growing like Paw Paws or chestnuts, elderberries, some of the other types of things you can grow. on a small acreage and utilize them yourself, to your family. You know, maybe sell some to a local market, to your neighbors. You could do that very easily.
I would love to see the neighbors, you know, if you could get more people in your community growing food, and then each person's growing something different, and it becomes a community co-op where everybody's now trading and, you know,
Sure.
using their food almost as currency, right? So I'll grow this crop, you grow that crop, and then we can, you know, we all have enough for each other to sustain the community. So I think it just starts with one or two of us on that small level, and
Yeah,
you know.
it just kind of snowballs from there, and,
Yeah.
and people find out how good it actually is,
Yeah.
how good it is for you, and yeah, and it's fun also.
So I met Bill through the Michigan Fruit and Nut Growers Association many years ago, and then you're also heavily involved in, what is
Well,
it?
there's several groups. There's
Okay.
the National Northern Nut
Okay.
Growers, certainly Chestnut Growers of America. We attended.
He's a nut.
Yes.
He's a nut.
I'm used to all the jokes, so you know. And just recently attended the 7th International Chestnut Symposium in Lugo, Spain, because chestnuts are a big major crop in Europe. And so that was a fascinating trip. A lot of orchards, a lot of growing, a lot of processing, major industry, a lot of money, a lot of equipment, you know, major factories, that
Yeah.
type of thing.
Had to be nice to see that from what somebody else in another country is doing,
Oh, yes,
right?
yes.
And what you can do to bring back that to our
Exactly,
country. Yeah.
exactly.
I'm so grateful to be out here and hanging out with you today. Is there anything that you want people to know about either growing food or experiencing nature in this capacity?
Well, I think just try it,
Yeah.
and you will enjoy it.
Yeah. And it's never perfect, right? We know that. We've talked about that, and you know, gosh, the trouble with trying to keep down native weeds and
And Mother Nature, it's either dry or wet, but that's all part of the process.
right, it's raining too much or not raining enough.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
exactly.
I would have to say, just from my perspective on a small scale, that just growing and being out in nature and being in my garden, it just is so joyful. So I think, you know, when you start to grow your own food, you start to really feel connected with the earth and
Very
your
true.
health, and it brings a peace of mind that I think is really great for your mental health. Well,
Very
thank
true.
you so much, Bill. I appreciate you. If you have any questions, I'm going to drop his information in the information section below. But if you like this video, go ahead and please leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. And as always, I appreciate you being here, and I will see you on the next one.